I am a mother of 5 boys. All of my boys were raised to be comfortable in their own skin and not shy to be shirtless in public. One of my youngest, 12 years old, likes to go to the park in the evening. He never really cared about having a shirt on. And since it was the park, there was no policy about shirts. In fact, he even enjoyed being shirtless, so every time I've made him wear a shirt, he would be a little disappointed. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I take my son to the park to give myself a mental rest and for a playful evening for him. And as I said, he doesn't wear a shirt at the park. He gets in the car as if he were in the house. This was never a problem until one day. As usual, I took my son to the park and he started to play with the others, occasionally coming to me for some water and then launching back off to go play with the others. I saw a lady who seemed to be around 40 plus noticing him. She came up to me and asked, "Is that your little one?" while pointing at my son. Her voice already sounded entitled and authoritative, but she was not the manager of the park because I know the manager. I was concerned if he had done something, even though I was staring at him the whole time and he did nothing but play. I replied with a gentle, "Yes?" with a questionable tone, and she went on and said she was the secretary of the neighborhood association, which only God knows if it even exists. I listened to her while still monitoring my son with slight peeks. After she introduced herself, I shook her hand and properly introduced myself. I tried to stay as humble as possible, but she thinks she is the boss, and she said, "Your son should wear a shirt." I replied without missing a beat, "And why is that?" She went on and said, "Well, it's not fair. All these girls have to put on these clothes during this hot time, and boys could just be half naked." This obviously triggered me, and I said, "He is a child enjoying his freedom, and all you see is a half-naked boy, and you people were the ones that created the social norms of girls can't go shirtless. Both white, so it's not a race thing." She looked at me and said with a non-regretting tone, "Well, your son should be more civil," and proceeded to threaten to call the police. I said, "Call ahead, because there was nothing wrong about what he is doing." I got a bit angry, but I tried not to escalate and said, "I suggest you let me parent my kid and mind your business." I obviously went to the park manager and reported her. The park manager, a kind young man who was also a family friend, said that he will take a look. I don't know if am I the idiot because the social norm still doesn't say boys can't be shirtless, and the park doesn't have a policy about dress code. I'm not doing something illegal. I know it's not fair that the social norm is so male chauvinistic, but for a child, even rules are basically something written on paper, let alone social norms. My son won't even understand what that is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm not in the wrong, but other than that, am I supposed to put my boys in shirts? Sometimes I've asked a lot of people and mixed emotions were shared, so I'm asking the internet. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot for the way you're responding to people here. Yeah, it's generally considered fine for boys to be shirtless and not girls, so by current norms, he's not doing anything wrong. But this person has a very valid point about the unfairness and sexism of that norm. I don't know how you should have responded to her, but you're acting like an butt here. Comment 2. Because I know the manager of the park, I replied with a gentle, "Yes?" I try to stay as humble as possible. And you people, I got a bit angry, but I tried not to escalate. Cuff nonsense cough. Now for the update. Thanks for your comments on my last post. Things have taken a turn since then. After the incident with the secretary of the so-called neighborhood association, I thought that would be the end of it. But no, she had other plans. The following week, as my son played at the park, I noticed her again, lurking around like a hawk. She had a smug look on her face, and I could tell she was up to something. Turns out she had been spreading rumors about me and my parenting. I overheard some parents whispering, and when I confronted them, they reluctantly told me that the secretary had been saying I was neglectful for letting my son run around without a shirt, painting me as some sort of irresponsible mother. I was fuming but decided to keep my cool. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me upset. Then, one evening, she approached me with a police officer by her side. She had actually gone through with her threat and called the cops on me, claiming I was causing a public disturbance. The officer was understanding, though, and after a brief chat, he left without taking any action. I was relieved, but also embarrassed in front of the other parents. The next day, I found a letter in my mailbox from the so-called neighborhood association, signed by the secretary, stating that there had been complaints about my son and that we were being fined for violating some non-existent dress code policy. I was shocked. How could she fine me for something that wasn't even a rule? I went to the park manager, the family friend, and he was just as surprised as I was. He assured me there was no such policy and that he would handle the situation. He had a talk with the secretary, and the next thing I knew, she was no longer the secretary. Apparently, she had been using her position to push her own agenda and had been doing this to others as well. But the story doesn't end there. A few days later, my son came home from the park with a scratch on his arm. He told me that one of the kids, influenced by the secretary's words, had said something mean about him not wearing a shirt, and when my son defended himself, it had turned into a scuffle. I was heartbroken. My son was being targeted because of this woman's vendetta against me. I decided to take action. I organized a meeting with the other parents at the park to clear the air. I explained my side of the story, and to my surprise, many of them were supportive. They had noticed the secretary's behavior and didn't agree with it. We all agreed that kids should be allowed to play freely, and that as long as they weren't hurting anyone, what they wore was nobody's business. The aftermath was a mix of relief and frustration. The secretary had been exposed for her manipulative behavior, and the parents were now on my side. But the damage had been done. My son was now hesitant to go to the park, and I could see the joy he once had was dimmed. Just when I thought things were settling down, another event shook us. The secretary, in a last-ditch effort to regain control, vandalized the park's playground equipment and tried to pin it on my son. Thankfully, the park had security cameras, and her actions were caught on tape. She was arrested, and the truth came out. In the end, the park remained a place where my son could play shirtless if he chose to. The other parents and I became closer, looking out for each other's kids, making sure they were all safe and happy. It was a tough couple of weeks, but I'm glad it's over. Thanks for reading. My family shames me for my unique eyes at my sister's wedding, so I expose her cheating fiancé and turn the event into an eye-opening spectacle. My 21-year-old sister, who is 32, is getting married, and they want me to sing at her wedding, but also wear contacts to hide my heterochromia. I have 2 different colored eyes. I'm Asian, and my family thinks my heterochromia will never be socially accepted or always looked down upon, and may even be perceived as some kind of illness or a disability, and they don't want the new in-laws to perceive any flaws about us and our family. I live abroad, so I don't see my family often, but every time I visit, I get urged to go out in public, at events, to see family wearing contacts. Every spring when this wedding is, we have really bad yellow dust, and wearing the contacts is going to be a pain. I have good vision, so contacts are not part of my life at all, except to hide my colored eye. My mom has always been image-oriented, grooming my sister and me our whole lives and being hypercritical about our looks. My only flaw is my eye condition. My sister's flaw was her nose, and my mom bullied her into surgery for a small bump no one would have said anything bad about. So should I suck it up and wear the contacts for that day? Maybe I'm picking the wrong time to retaliate. When is the right time? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You have 2 options. Option 1, do what your clearly insane mother wants and just power through it. Option 2, tell everyone to eat a fat one. I would go with option 2, but that's just me. Nobody notices your eye color, and if they do, they will think that's pretty because it is. Your mom needs to chill. Comment 2. No, because then you might need to explain or wear them again when you meet your brother-in-law and his family. If your brother-in-law is already aware, it's likely the rest of the family knows too. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for more of my family saga. So the wedding drama thickened. My sister's fiancé, let's call him Mr. Perfect, turns out to be not so perfect after all. A week before the wedding, I found out he's been cheating on my sister with his ex. And guess who caught them? Me. I was out getting some fresh air, trying to clear my head from all the contact lens drama, when I saw them cozying up in a cafe. I was torn about telling my sister. She was already stressed with the wedding, and I didn't want to be the one to break her heart, but I couldn't let her marry a cheater. So, I told her. She was devastated, of course. The wedding was off, and our family was thrown into chaos. Mom was more worried about what people would say than my sister's broken heart. She even suggested my sister should go through with the wedding to avoid shame. Can you believe that? But my sister, she's stronger than I thought. She kicked Mr. Perfect to the curb and decided to turn the would-be wedding into a celebration of her new single life. It was a bold move that shocked everyone, especially our mom, who couldn't fathom the idea of turning a wedding into a breakup party. In the midst of all this, I forgot about the contacts, but Mom didn't. She insisted I wear them to the unwedding party. Said it was more important now than ever to show a united, flawless front. I was so angry with her for still caring about appearances when my sister was hurting. The party was something else. My sister, in her wedding dress, toasted to new beginnings, and I sang a song about love and loss. No contacts. I decided I'd had enough of hiding who I am. Surprisingly, no one cared about my eyes. They were too caught up in the drama and my sister's bravery. But then, the aftermath. Mom hasn't spoken to me since the party. She's ashamed, not because of the canceled wedding, but because I showed my true colors, literally, and my sister, she's been getting calls from Mr. Perfect begging for forgiveness. Last I heard, she's considering taking him back. After everything, she still loves him. I'm back abroad now, feeling a mix of pride for my sister's initial stand and frustration that she might forgive him. I'm also a bit relieved to be away from my mom's critical eye. But there's this nagging feeling that I've accepted a terrible situation. My family's obsession with image over reality. And I'm just playing along, pretending it's all okay. Thanks for reading through another chapter of my life. My fiancé kisses my twin sister at our engagement party, so I dump him and make sure he loses both of us forever. The other night, we were at this big party celebrating my engagement. I was mingling with some friends when I noticed my fiancé and my twin sister were missing. At first, I didn't think much about it. Maybe they were catching up or something. But then I went to the WC. I saw from the window that they were outside kissing and giggling. My fiancé and my sister were locking lips right there in the middle of our engagement party. I was in complete shock. My heart sank, my head was spinning, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, sure, they were both pretty drunk, but still, that's not an excuse, right? They didn't even notice me standing there watching them. It was like I was invisible. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to march right over there and confront them, but another part just wanted to run away and pretend like none of it ever happened. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I just turned around and walked away, feeling numb and betrayed. I didn't talk to either of them during the rest of the party, and when we got home, I just went to try to sleep because I didn't feel like speaking to my fiancé. However, the next morning when we were about to have breakfast, I decided I had to tell him what I saw. I looked him straight in the eyes and asked him what the hell happened at the party. And you know what he said? He looked me dead in the eyes and told me that he was so drunk that he confused me with my sister, because apparently, we look so much alike. I got furious when he told me that because it seemed like such a bad excuse. We had a very long fight and then he left to his apartment. It has been 1 week since that happened. Now some of his friends keep texting me saying that I should really forget him because he didn't mean to do that and is quite affected by what happened. However, I don't know if I'll be able to forgive and forget something like this. So am I wrong for wanting to break up with him, or should I give him a second chance? I love him so much, and we've been through a lot together, but I don't know, I just can't buy his story, I'm afraid. Edit because I forgot, I talked to my sister the next day. We don't really have a great relationship because we may be physically alike, but trust me, we couldn't be more different in terms of personality. So I called her and told her all I knew. Apparently, my fiancé had already spoken to her, and she just apologized and told me she was too wasted that night and has been single since forever. She needed to live life even if it was only for one night. She told me that due to her state, she didn't think straight about the consequences. TBH, she's always been quite jealous of me and I do why. My parents have always treated us the same way. I have some strengths and she has others, but she just wants everything for herself. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, I'm a twin and went no contact more than 20 years ago. Best decision I have made. She most likely has a personality disorder, and she treated me poorly our entire lives. Being drunk does not excuse what she did. I am assuming it's another betrayal after a lifetime of them. Remember, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Just because you shared a womb and childhood does not mean you have to put up with her misbehavior as an adult. Comment 2. Are you and your sister identical? Do you dress similarly? I've known quite a few identical twins in my life. Once you know them as individuals, you can plainly tell them apart. So yes, I think it's a false excuse. The other culprit is your sister, and you need to confront her. Because even in the very slim chance he couldn't tell you apart, she knew who he was and what they were doing. Now for the update. Thanks for all the comments from last time. After the whole mess with my fiancé and sister, I thought things couldn't get worse. I was wrong. A couple of days later, I found out I was pregnant. It was a shock, to say the least. I hadn't planned on starting a family yet, but there it was. I had to tell my fiancé, even though we weren't on speaking terms. When I did, he was over the moon, said it changed everything. He wanted to fix things, be there for me and the baby. I was torn. Part of me wanted that family picture, but the other part, the hurt part, couldn't forget the betrayal. Then my sister dropped another news. She was moving across the country for a job. She said she needed a fresh start after everything that happened. I couldn't blame her, but it felt like she was running away from her problems, leaving me to deal with the fallout alone. I was dealing with all this when my best friend told me she saw my fiancé at a bar, cozying up to some girl. That was it for me. I confronted him and he didn't deny it. Said he was confused, didn't know how to handle the pregnancy and our situation. I told him to get lost. I was done. The next week was a blur. I was trying to figure out what to do about the baby, my broken engagement, and my sister's move. It was a lot. Then my parents got involved. They sat me down and told me they knew about everything. They were disappointed in my sister, sure, but they were more concerned about me. They offered to help with the baby, said I wouldn't be alone in this. I was grateful, but I also felt a sense of shame. I always wanted to be independent, handle my own problems. Now I was in a situation where I needed help. It was humbling. In the midst of all this, my ex-fiancé's mother called me. She was crying, begging me to reconsider for the sake of the baby. She said her son was a mess without me. I felt bad for her, but I couldn't go back to him. Not after everything. Then, my ex did something unexpected. He signed up for therapy, said he wanted to change, be better for me and the baby. I didn't know what to think. It was a step in the right direction, but could I trust him again? While I was trying to sort out my feelings, my sister called me from her new place. She was lonely, regretting her decision to move. She missed home, missed me. I didn't know what to say to her. I was still hurt, but she was my sister. In the end, I decided to focus on myself and the baby. I started going to prenatal classes, reading books, preparing for this new chapter in my life. My parents were supportive, and my friends rallied around me. It was tough, but I was starting to feel like I could do this. As for my ex, he's still in therapy, he's trying, I'll give him that. But I'm not ready to let him back in. Not yet, maybe not ever. I need to do what's best for me and my child. That's my priority now. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.